Happy New Year, Innisfree! Welcome to Gina and Friends, where we talk about our virtue and stuff that's going on. So, I actually did the virtue this morning, and I looked through the virtue list for Innisfree, and I chose generosity. It's because it's a bounty and abundance. Here we go, lots of apples and oranges. But we had a great morning with the staff coming back from a holiday. So level up and let's own 2026. So let's go! Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
In Hawaiian, ha'oli makahikiho. So I'm doing the virtue for this morning, and looking through the list, I was telling Miss Carol on Friday, what virtue should you start the year off, right? So I'm looking and looking and looking, and then also what virtue did we not cover last year? And surprisingly enough, we did not cover generosity. And that is the very fiber of who we are, right? Through giving, culture of giving and abundance, and through Innisfree allows the Hive to give to the community in which we do business in. So I thought, okay, we'll do generosity. And if you go into Beekeeper, Elizabeth did a wonderful, as she always does, she shared what her thoughts were regarding the virtue of generosity. So, and if you're not on Beekeeper, look up Sydney and she'll get you on Beekeeper. All right, so generosity. Generosity is giving to others something that is of value to us. Generosity is quality of spirit that calls us to share what we have. We also allow others to give to us. Every gift is doubly blessed, bringing joy to the giver and receiver. Generosity helps us to give time and attention to the feelings, needs, and views of those around us. It springs from a sense of abundance and gratitude for the limitless richness of life. We give cheerfully without expecting anything in return. We are receptive to blessings. Generosity encourages us to share the bounty. So, see where the abundance comes in? So, I thought, well, that is well said. I can't really add anything to it, but I jotted down a few key points. Spirit of sharing. Generosity calls us to share what we have and accept gifts from others. Double blessing. Every gift brings joy to both the giver and receiver. So it's a mutual thing, right? So to me, it's like almost relationship. Empathy and connection. I was like, oh, empathy, but it helps us give time and attention to others' feelings, needs, and perspectives. So that is empathy, isn't it? Rooted in abundance, and that's what we are, right? Springs from gratitude for life's richness. Openness to blessings, so that's like, giving strokes, right? You receive it, and you receive it graciously, and say thank you to the strokes that you were given. Cheerful giving, we give without expecting anything in return. And transformative impact encourages us to share the bounty and create a culture of giving. So this year, and just to let you know, Rhiannon, it was all sent out, all the checks to the properties. So the we have a new initiative, which is the charitable giving by the properties that we have. So they chose charity organization that they felt very connected to, either as an individual property or a market, and they're given 500 for each property to give. So those are sent out, and they're going to be able to present it personally to
As part of our revised commitment around the holiday party is giving back to the communities that we operate in. So, and the list of charities was amazing.
Yeah.
It was really great to see, especially in some markets where 5 or 6 properties all came together to choose one organization. It's very cool.
Yeah. Is there any thought about generosity? And if you think about that virtue, is there a situation or a memory or a person that you can think of that kind of goes, yeah, that is generosity in motion?
I'll share a quick anecdotal story, and I guess partly to honor the individual who made this impact in my life and really that of my young family. When I was 22, I guess, my oldest son Gage was just a baby, and his uncle Frank was a big man, big metal worker. He created metal duct work. I think he actually worked on the Fairfield at one point. I saw him working on that job site. Certainly rich in humor. He was the funniest man I've met. Certainly rich in spirit, but certainly not rich in finance. But every time that April, Gage's mom, and I would go and visit with April's dad, John, Big John is what we called him, and his brother Frank was there. On the way out, Frank would slip a $100 bill in April's pocket. And this was 30 years ago, y'all. $100 to a young family at 22 years old trying to buy Huggies for the baby is revolutionary. We didn't have, what's this, the cliche, a pot to piss in nor a window to throw it out of. And he cracked off $100. And that might have been the last $100 in his pocket. And that resonated with me ever since, that act of generosity was selfless, and it was truly in the human spirit. He just wanted to do good by his family. And so his name is Frank Chestnut, just to honor him, and an example of true generosity.
Wow, thank you.
Still resonates with me today.
Thank you. So during Operation Santa, it was just, we're giving, right? We're giving, and we see the receiver just enjoying. And one of the givers were asked, actually Julian McQueen was asked how he felt. And he said, pure joy. And I thought, wow, I mean, it was me and Santa Claus both were. Santa Claus went ho ho, and I went, because it was pure joy, right? So that's the double blessing, right? That's a double blessing to the giver and then to one that's receiving. So, but I wanted to thank Susan and Rose. They did a wonderful job, 91 children. It was, wow. That's all I can say. So thank you for your generosity in that.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, January babies. You were a New Year's Day baby, Tracy. Just like my mom.
We don't celebrate that anymore.
You don't celebrate anymore? So we asked my mom, we had this FaceTime group, right? My siblings were all there. It was just me and my brother that weren't there. And so she sang happy birthday, they sang her happy birthday, and then she sang back, thank you, thank you, thank you. She's 92. So my son, Blaze, asked her, Gummy, they call her Gummy. Gummy, so what's the wish? And she thought about, she goes, another 10. Another 10 years. So she'll make it to the Willard Scott's Schmuckers. Anybody know the Willard Scott Schmuckers list? 100 plus. Anyway, so happy birthday, January babies, and I'll be doing a beekeeper post to celebrate January babies. Any announcements? Ted?
Yeah, a couple things. First, on the topic of generosity, which I think is pretty interesting. To me, generosity is very relative, right? It could be a plethora of things, from financial generosity to kindness, generosity to thoughtfulness, to awareness. You know, I think of, I've been on this mission for over 20 years now, not to throw any clothes away, right? Recognizing that people that live at or above the middle class likely get rid of really good clothes that people that don't have those kinds of resources could really use. And luckily, I'm the size of a middle schooler. So most of my school clothes go to the 8th grade. And that's when I quit growing. And so that's really how I back in to generosity. And 36 years ago, my wife taught me the concept of time, talent, and treasure. And to Jason, to your point, not only did we not have a pot to piss in, I had student debt, I had nothing but a job commitment from a company. So I was like, at least I'm gonna walk out of here with getting a paycheck someday, right? And I was not very wise back then, and my first day of work was Labor Day. And my employer's like, you sure you don't wanna wait till Tuesday? So big wake up call to me, and I then spent the next 20 years working just about every holiday for about 20 years. Christmas, Thanksgiving, because that's what the restaurant world is and the hotel world is all about. But when I met my wife, she was very generous and charitable with her time, with her talent. And we didn't have any treasure. We didn't have treasure for years and years and years. But we always dedicated something that we had. And we always handed down as much as we could. And when we moved to Tucson, there was this place called the Buffalo Exchange where you could sell your clothes. And that was the first time I'd ever heard of anything like that. And we never really sold any clothes to the Buffalo Exchange. We always took them to the mission because we thought that was more valuable. And so when you think of generosity, we all can be generous. Don't believe that you're not in a position like Julian McQueen where you can really make a significant community impact, right? And this morning when I read the newspaper, there was a big article actually about the Dixon After Hours program, and they're doing a series right now on programs that are benefiting from the Escambia Children's Trust. And if any of you have been following the press, you'll know that some of our local elected politicians are attacking the Children's Trust. For reasons unknown. I have my own beliefs why they're doing it. And I think it's ugly and unnecessary because over 63% of the voters in Escambia County voted to tax themselves to help our children, right? That's generosity because we live in a community where 60% of the people here live at or below the poverty line. So think about that for a second. A lot of people who really couldn't afford an extra tax on themselves voted for it because kids matter and the future of our community matters. So when people back in, and I promise you most of those people who voted didn't see that as generosity. They saw that as necessity. And that's where I think generosity turns into a virtue, is when you can distance yourself from the act of what makes you feel good for doing it and back into the act of doing it because it really needs to make a difference and matter. And my capital partner in Houston is a very interesting individual and has unlimited resources, truly. And he was a very generous person. and would do some things that I didn't understand, like we would pull up at a stoplight in Houston and there would be somebody panhandling on all four corners of the stoplight at the highway intersection. In Texas is different. They have something called the Texas turnaround, where most states don't have that, but you can actually have four corners at a 10-lane highway underneath it. And he would call somebody over, hand him a $100 bill. We'd go through the light, he'd turn around, give the other person one, and he would do this thing where he hit all four corners and gave everybody money. And then we would go off to our meeting. And I always thought, why does Mac do that? And in his world, he always looked for people in need. And that was really what he spent his time on. He's given hundreds of millions of dollars away. And there's not a single building with his name on it anywhere in Harris County, which is where Houston resides, Harrison, Montgomery County. And nobody knows what he does when he does those things. He's bought hundreds of acres for his church around the city and helped them expand. Nobody knows it. That isn't part of his inner circle. Very generous person. Gives his time, his talent, taught every week at a school in the community, and which I also thought was pretty interesting. But, great way to start the new year. Gina, and that's my other thing is Happy New Year to everybody. We finished as strong as we could, and as I'm sure all of y'all have seen in the press over the weekend, we have even more political unrest in our region of the world, but like all things, it will calm itself down eventually, and we'll get a clear picture of what the future looks like. We did finish budgets last year, and this year looks like a whole lot like last year did. And we're in the process of finalizing the rest of our goals and objectives for the company going forward for the year. Those will be done in a couple of weeks. So thanks for everything y'all did in 2025. We're now in 2026. And I remember being in grade school, and all the science fiction shows were like, it's 2021. I'm like, oh my gosh, cars are still not flying. We're getting close. But it amazes me every year we add another digit and how much farther we get into the 2000s that, millennial babies are now in the workforce, right? Which are my kids, and which is also shocking to me. So I look forward to experiencing 2026 with all of you and your families and your friends. And please remember that we recognize everything everybody does to make this company successful and make this company matter. So with that, thanks.
Yay. So the 15th of January, which is a Thursday, is Story Slam. It is called The Impact of Mentors' Wisdom.
Yes, January is National Mentors Month. So
Okay.
there'll be an opportunity to sign up. We're partnering with Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and there'll be an opportunity to sign up to be a big, if you'd like to do that, you'll have an opportunity to sign up.
Okay, and it's the Voices of
Pensacola
building.
Yeah, it's right across from
Okay.
Seville.
And also on January 24th, some volunteer opportunities. Parent University is going to be at Dixon. So it normally runs from 10 to about 2 p.m. And we also have vendor tables, so come join us. And again, Ted said, Happy New Year, Ha'oli Makahikiho. What is it in Spanish?
Feliz Año Nuevo.
What?
Feliz Año Nuevo.
There you go. Any other languages?
Happy
Portuguese?
It's very similar to Spanish.
Okay. Okay. All right, that's it. All right, so generosity is abundance and bounty and double the blessings. And through Innisfree Hotels, via the Hive Foundation, we were able to touch so many lives that were in need in our community. And it was just so touching to be involved with such a great foundation. So let's take a look.
It's us walking hand in hand to make a difference starting in your community.